Welcome back. It's a Wednesday, which, if you watch the show, you know that means we get a visit with our best friend, Michael Babcock, over at TMZ to get the scoop on the latest Hollywood headlines. And Babcock, always great to see you. A lot has
Hey,
happened.
Maddie.
A lot has
Hey,
transpired in
Jeremy.
24 hours,
Oh,
huh?
you're not kidding, Maddie.
Michael, it's crazy because I saw
Yeah,
TMZ broke the story, and I pulled it up on my phone and I showed Maddie, and you already knew, and I had just seen it. I was like,
yeah.
"Is this true?"
I know like that's I hesitate to say it was shocking. I mean, it's shocking from the standpoint that Diddy has since the 90s been one of the most prominent people, one of the most famous people in all of music and all of entertainment, period, who had done so well, who had built this empire out of nothing and worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, it's not shocking though when you think about the fact that the federal government for the last 6 months, bi-coastally in New York, in Miami, in Los Angeles, have been investigating. They put a great deal of resources and time into this investigation, and you felt like at some point they wouldn't have gone after Diddy the way they did if they didn't feel like there were criminal charges here that they could actually pursue and ultimately get a conviction. Well, now we're at the part where they've arrested him Monday night. He was at a hotel room in New York City, in Midtown, and knock on the door, and it's the feds, and they arrested him. They took him to a federal a courthouse in downtown Manhattan. He stayed there overnight. He had a hearing yesterday where he pled not guilty, and his lawyer has made it very clear he's going to fight these charges. The charges are it's a 3-count indictment. It's all centered around alleged sex trafficking.
Mm.
And his lawyer says he's going to fight the charges. He says, look, he's an imperfect person, but he's not a criminal, and Diddy will clear his name. He is not going to be granted bond, at least not unless something changes. They're actually going to have a hearing today on the bond, but yesterday the judge said, I can't let you out of jail. You've got to stay in jail. So presumably Diddy could be in jail through a trial.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
That's insane. And
Yeah.
when all of this started to kind of come out and Diddy was starting to get into hot water, didn't he like jet off to the Bahamas or something? Like, doesn't that just
Yeah.
scream
Well,
guilty?
well, yeah, and I think Maddie, that I think that's why, and his attorney would say we've been in communication with the investigators, with the feds here, and they knew where we were and what we were doing, and we were cooperating. So that's what they would say. So I I know they're trying to the message they're trying to put forth here is, look, Diddy's an innocent man. He wants to clear his name. He's almost happy in some ways to have this opportunity to finally let people know the truth. So, but yeah, I mean that's the reality, Maddie. He's an incredibly wealthy man, and he's got means, and I think it would be naive to think that that's not at least playing into the fact here that they don't want to allow him to be out on bond and to possibly escape their reach.
Do you think? Okay, Michael, this may be out of the scope of what they're doing, but I'm just curious. Like, there's been rumors for years. I mean, every time I hear
I
rumors,
know.
people have talked about that. Like, how much
Yeah,
did J Lo know? And have other
right.
celebrities been reacting now? Because he's tight with a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, very tight. And that's a great question. And the United States Attorney, Jeremy, actually was asked something along that line yesterday. Like, how could this have taken this long? Like you said, there had been people talking for so long, and it's almost feels miraculous to me in the worst possible way. But that nobody found out about this. I mean, these were right, like you said, these were a lot of big celebrities going to these parties, those freak off parties, which people may have heard that term used because it's become part of people's vocabulary almost at this point. But these parties are really what the feds say the crime was here. That he would have these parties called freak off parties. He'd take everybody's phone. He would have these women and essentially force them to have sex with male sex workers while he recorded it and then held those videos as sort of as ransom, as like leverage, almost held them hostage so nobody would say anything. And he kept people in line by for alleged force and alleged threats. And if it wasn't that, he would promise people that he would make their musical careers. I'll make you a star. And through those different levers that Diddy had, that's how he kept people in line. And nobody found out about this. They say this stuff's been going on since at least 2008. It's
Wow.
2008.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And
I just
probably soon, more, probably longer.
Yeah.
Maddie and I were talking before the show, and to me, what I can't grasp is to go from nothing to being so rich, so famous, having it all. What leads to that step of doing what he's accused of been doing, if that's in fact true? I don't know how that works.
I don't either. I mean, I understand. In many cases, you've got a lot younger people who are desperately trying to make it, and you think that this guy is taking an interest in me. Diddy. Who has more sway in the music industry, especially when it comes to hip hop. And I think a lot of women then were found themselves trapped in this really awful situation. At least that's the story that the feds paint here. And people couldn't get out of the situation. They were stuck at that point. And many women went through what seems like years of abuse at the hands of this guy. And they're talking about, he used arson, kidnapping, physical violence, emotional violence. Everything under the sun.
Yeah.
It's ugly stuff. And he's facing the sex trafficking charge. There's a mandatory minimum of 15 years and there's a max of life in prison. So that's how serious this is for Diddy.
Wow. Well, I did see that Aubrey O'Day was it Making the Band?
Yeah.
From MTV's Making the Band, which Diddy kind of head up. She has spoken out and she's like, this is an amazing day for all women, not just me, for all women. So she's speaking out. I know 50 Cent has spoken out.
Yeah, Maddie. And with she spoke out that when it wasn't cool or wasn't hip to do it, and it was not something people were doing at that time. And she received a lot of backlash. There was a lot of ridicule directed in her direction because she spoke out about Diddy. And you've got to imagine it feels incredibly vindicating for her today to say, hey, I told you I wasn't lying about this.
Yeah. Well, that's a silver lining for her,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just so curious to see in the following weeks when more evidence comes out or stories break and what celebrities have to say.
There were a lot of celebrities there, Jeremy, and they made it clear this investigation is not closed. We are still investigating. It could be more charges for Diddy, and there definitely could be more charges for people that worked for him, worked around him, or were celebrities who were involved in these parties.
Yeah.
Well, we know one thing. TMZ is going to cover it, and you're going to break all the stories. So we appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Keeping us updated.
Thank you, Jeremy and Maddie. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. See you next week.
Okay, bye.
All right, you can catch TMZ weekdays at 5 p.m. and TMZ Live weekdays at 2 p.m. right here on Fox 49. Don't go anywhere. We have an amazing musical performance coming up right after this. We'll be back.